Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Jim Coppinger with ZenTek Consultants, and looking like I'm getting some display issues there, which is kind of interesting. Not quite sure what's going on. Give me 1 minute. I'm just gonna. All right, I'm back. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but my display kicked out. It was a little bit odd, so I apologize for the delay. And again, welcome again. Thanks for joining me. I am Jim Coppinger with ZenTek Consultants, and I want to welcome all you guys to our presentation today on Bluebeam Cloud, the vital new tool for all construction firms. Before we get into the presentation for today, I just want to kind of cover a few quick housekeeping items. Number one, because this is a public forum, I will keep all the attendees' microphones and telephones muted throughout. But I do encourage you guys to ask questions. I have a lot of time at the end of today's presentation to answer those questions. So if you just want to type them in as we go, either into the chat box or the question box, either way is just fine. I will be happy to answer those. Okay. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into today's presentation. All right. So for those of you who haven't worked with us before, we are ZenTek Consultants, and we are world-recognized Bluebeam partners, but we do quite a lot more than that. Anything in the AEC space, construction, estimating, quantity takeoff, any technology-related service that you guys need in this industry, we're here to help. So we hope you'll take a few minutes, hit our website, see what else we have to offer for you. All right, so what are we talking about today, right? So we're talking about Bluebeam Cloud, which is a brand new offering in your Bluebeam Review 21 version. And I'm going to stress that in that Bluebeam Cloud, which is focused around kind of providing a more affordable project management system for those of us in the construction world who aren't a $300 billion a year concern. We need the ability to be able to do things like track RFIs and submittals and punch items and markup documents without spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on some of these really extensive project management systems, right? And that's what Bluebeam Cloud does. Now, just to kind of touch base on this real quick, like I said, it's part of Review 21 only, all right? It's not available in earlier versions of Review, so if you guys haven't upgraded yet, feel free to reach out to ZenTek. We can help you with that. And the key is this, right? So in Review 21, they've kind of shifted their licensing structure. They kind of shifted the name of the basic operating systems that you're working with, where you used to have like Bluebeam Standard, CAD, and Extreme. They're now called Basics, Core, and Complete. It's not quite a one-to-one comparison between them, but it's pretty close. The big thing is that in any version of this, you do get Bluebeam Cloud included with your Review 21 license purchase, okay? There are no additional fees, no additional costs for anything that we're going to be talking about today. I will say, however, that it is kind of important if you really want to get the functionality out of it that we're going to cover in this presentation. You want to have at least the core version of Bluebeam, right? So that you can get the Bluebeam Cloud, so you can do all the RFIs, submittals, and so on that we're going to be talking about. So either the core or the complete. The basics in terms of Bluebeam Cloud are very limited. So it allows you to do some basic markups, and that's about it. So I do recommend that everybody get at least the core version for what we're talking about here today. All right, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into our demo for today. All right, and the great thing is that we're talking about Bluebeam Cloud. All right, and what I'm going to do here with Bluebeam Cloud is I'm just going to go over and I'm going to maximize this out. You're going to go to the Bluebeam Cloud site, right? The Bluebeam Cloud comes, the license for it is part of your basic review install, but it's actually a separate web-based or cloud-hosted program that runs entirely external to your standard Bluebeam Review desktop version. All right, and you're going to go up to app.bluebeam.com, right? And you're just going to go ahead and you're going to click sign in, and it'll ask you, the first time you go in, it'll ask you for your username and a password. And if you don't have an account for Cloud, you can just click create a new one, and as long as you have your license up and running in Bluebeam, it'll let you create it. So, all right, so you see that it kind of breaks you here into a web page. And the great thing about this is that this is accessible from literally any type of device, whether it's a mobile, it's a laptop, or if it's a tablet on any, whether it's Android or Apple or Microsoft, whatever. Any device that connects to the internet, you're just really going through a web portal to get to where you want to go. So everybody, everywhere, 24/7 can access this, right? And what's nice about it, with the new shift to the annual licensing subscription, it's what they call login anywhere, right? So the great thing about dealing with your Bluebeam Cloud licensing is that it's no longer tied to your machine, so that you can do this with cloud. You can log in from any device, anytime, anywhere, any place, and log into Bluebeam, particularly cloud. Okay, so you're kind of broken into two kind of work areas over here on the left when you get into cloud: my workspace and projects. All right, and we're going to move pretty quickly through the presentation today. We're not going to get into all the details of how to do everything, but I just want to give you guys a really good idea of what functionality cloud is bringing for you, particularly those of us in the construction environment. So the first thing we can do here is we can work with in my workspace. But you see down here, I can click on my projects, and we'll get to that in a minute. My workspace is really more of a personal space. It's an area for you to be able to put documents in place, mark them up, make notes, comments, changes that are really for your own reference, right? Things that you need to keep track of, things you need to do or address later on. Right, and it's really easy. I can actually click, I can either just drag and drop files into this window pane, which I'm going to do in a second, or I can just click out the browse button and browse to where they are on my network. I'm just going to drag over this floor plan into my setup here, and you see I can just drop it right onto the web browser, and it loads up this basic PDF. Right, and the great thing here is that with the basic PDF, I can just go in here, and I have the ability to download that. So if you know, cloud will also work as a great way to be able to take things both on and offline into different locations. I can rename the plan, right, or delete the plan. I can go back and upload additional files over here, right, and I can just double click on it whenever I'm ready to go ahead and mark up this PDF file. Pretty straightforward. Right, and that's where we get into some of the basic functionality of dealing with cloud and its markup capacity. You see here across the bottom, we got some basic undo and redo tools. Just like we would have in standard Blue, we get single page or scrolling page mode. So when you have multiple pages, you can scroll through and read on your tablet out in the field. Really, really nice. We can jump the pages. We can zoom in and out here. I can also zoom in and out, right, using all of my basic, mouse wheel button controls and so on. Or like I said, I can move in and out and just kind of, pan using my mouse button or the slide bars on the side, however I want to work with that. Right, so you see I can zoom in or out as much as I need to. Over here on the left, you see you get this little expanding blue button. That's when you've got multiple pages. It's kind of your thumbnail view. Right, so if you got 5 or 10 or 15 pages in that document, you can just click from page to page over here. And then here what we have are all of our basic markup tools. Right, so we can select items on screen, or we can go in and we can create new items. So you see here I can go in, I can create a cloud. Right, so I can go in and I can do a cloud, and maybe I just want to put a regular revision bubble around that area. Right, and you see that once you place any item on screen using Bluebeam Cloud, I have the ability to go in and do all of the basic properties editing. If I want to change the line color, I want it to be a green outline, right, and I want it to be a little bit thinner on the cloud line. So yeah, the outside is going in. I can change the background color. Maybe I want that to be yellow, right, and I want it to be a little more see-through than it is. Right? And I can always change the numbers here, and I can also click in there and get a little slide bar to kind of adjust how that looks till I get it to where I want it. Right? And then any item can be selected. You see it goes back to selection as default. Right? The item can be moved around. Right? It can be resized by clicking on the corners. Right? And you'll notice that I also get the ability here to rotate these. So you notice if I move out, I've got kind of this little rotation arrow. So you see that I can kind of click and hold on it. And if I hold down my shift key, you see that I can do it in 1 degree increments and kind of rotate this to whatever angle structure I need. So if I want something that was going to kind of align to that area, maybe I need to, click on it, rotate it a little bit more. I can even just right click on these. You see I can do rotate clockwise, and I can do counterclockwise to just flip things 90 degrees. Right? Or like I said, I can always go back and click on it and rotate it with the handles. Okay. I also have, if you notice on these buttons, I have these little triangles at the bottom. And if I click on those, you see I can kind of shift some of these tools. So instead of doing a cloud shape, I can do a rectangular shape. I can do an ellipse shape. So if I want to do an elliptical shape cloud that kind of was more of a circular structure, okay, and again, I can go in and thicken the lines, do whatever I need there. I get a vector pen. Vector pens are really useful. It's basically it's great for doing like pipes and wiring and duct work, right? Because I can go in, I can just click a point and say, hey, I've got a duct that's going to run from here over to here, over to here, and then it's going to come down here, and I can just kind of double click to end it. And you see that now I can go in, I can change the color if I need that duct to be red, okay? I can change this line type, I need it to be dashed, right? And then I can go back in and I can adjust using these yellow circular control points. You see I can adjust exactly where things lay out, so if I need to move it afterwards. See, it all maintains its connection as a poly object, right? Very, very easy. And again, remember, this can all be done right in the field. So in terms of generating as-builts and field markups, it's absolutely brilliant. right? I can always go in and I can put text boxes wherever I need them. So I can just go in and pick a spot where I can, type some text, right, wherever I need it to be. And like anything else, I can just pick on it and I can adjust the font. Right? It's got some basic built-in fonts. I can change the color. If I want the text to be blue, I can change the size of the text, make it bigger or smaller. Right? So I can take that down, we'll just bring it down to like a 30. Okay. Right? I can go in, I can make it bold, italics. Right? All basic editing features. I can change the color of the background box. If I don't want any kind of an outline on it, I can just set my outline for 0. Right? All the background colors, I can just set it to white, and then I can move the text, readjust it, resize it, type whole paragraphs. I can rotate it. All basic editing functions are kind of similar on all of these tools. So I can put text notes in here, arrows. Right? So if I need to, point at things and say, hey, you know what, that note refers to, that elevator over there. Okay, I can do that. I can even get into doing some basic callouts. And again, you see there's a triangle on this one. So I can do just a standard text callout or a cloud-based callout. Right? A standard text callout lets me just put a note and add a note. See, and it just comes in with a leader already on it so that the leader will stay with the note as I move it around from location to location on plan. And I can also go in and I could do the same thing on that with the a cloud. Right, which lets me go in and put a cloud around something and then put a leader on it and say this is clouded note. There you go. Okay, right? And then I can move that note and you see the cloud will stay where it is. So I've got a highlighter, so I can go in here and I can start highlighting areas that I want to call out. Okay, so I can just highlight things and I can change the colors and the opacity on those to whatever I want. So if I want to highlight that in yellow, okay, make it a little bit wider, darker, however I want to work with that. And you see that I also have here a pen, right? So it's kind of the same thing. So I find that the pen and the highlighter work really well with touch screen, right? Where you can go in and say, hey, let's take, this column over here and let's move it over to this location, right? And let's get rid of that room. And you can just kind of touch with your finger and mark things up. And then after the fact, you can always go back in, right? And change the colors and the widths and the, line weights so you can make the lines thicker and thinner as I work, right? Get them nice and thin or thick, however I need those to be. I can even go in and I can attach images here. I can just click the image button and I can browse out to any photos that I have and put those up in here on the screen. So the basic markup is great. You also have the ability here to be able to go in and create and add tool chests and even export your basic tool chest from Bluebeam Review into here, or you see I can create new tool chests and I can go ahead and I can add whatever items I have here on my screen. Right? I'll have the ability on these, right, to go ahead and save these to a tool chest once I've created them. So if you create a line or a tool or something that looks like, you're going to be able to use that on a lot of different jobs, you can easily add that into the tool chest. So that's basic markup functionality. Now, I'm going to jump over here to the projects because the way that Bluebeam Cloud, is really structured, it's meant for you to put together an entire construction project so that you can primarily keep track of, the markups, the submittals, the RFIs, and the punch items. Right? And keep track of all the communication surrounding those items, who's done them, are they completed, what state are they in, are there questions about them? It's really meant to help you guys with that, right? And it's done on a project basis. And you can just go in here and click the new project and create a new project with a name, right? And then load files into it, right? So, I could go in here today and I'll just call it webinar, right? Excuse my bad typing, and just create it. And you see, it's just basically creating a new folder. And then if I go into that, okay, it's going to ask you for basic features, right? Your email, your name, etc., right? What you are, what you do, right? And now in here, you can go in and you can start adding all the details about the location of the project, right? You can create your team. So you see in here, I can go in and I can create users. I can create groups of people, all my construction managers, my estimators, my supers as a group, right? I can go ahead and do that on my team. I can add new people, right? I can always go back to the dashboard here. So I can invite new people to the team. I can upload drawings, right? And it gives me a summary of punch items and so on. Now, I'm not going to upload drawings because it does take a couple of minutes. There's a whole process in terms of labeling and you're really getting an intelligent setup, which is very nice, but it does take a couple of minutes. I don't want to do that in today's presentation. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, click on Bluebeam to the projects. And I've already got this ZenTek example job here that's already got some PDFs and locations and things kind of loaded in it. And the big thing that I want to kind of get into here is that we can work with any of these. Now, these are in a project, these PDFs. I'm just going to open one up to sort of get some markups and stuff on it. And you see that these are in a project. So before, when we were talking about the My Projects, it's kind of a file just for you. This is a publicly shared project where everybody who you invite to your team can go in and they can add markups and comments and reply to yours and look at everything that's happening. It becomes kind of the central brain for the most current set of documents on your construction job. Right? And just like I said before, I've got all the same markup tools and features when I go in here. But you see, right, you see I've got all my different pages that I can go through, right? I can go through different pages, right? Page 1 through 8 of all the different drawings that I have. See, this takes me through the drawings versus going over here on the side, which would be the sheets in the drawings. But you notice it down here on the bottom, I've got 2 additional features here. I've got RFIs and I've got punch lists, right, for what I can work with here. Right? So we're going to start here with the idea of adding punch items. I'm just going to go to the next drawing here, all right, and say that I want to add a punch item to this plan. All right, so down here at the bottom, I can very easily go in when you're getting through your final walkthrough and your punch items and you keep track of these, rather than just doing these graphically or sending phone calls or emails or handwritten sketches and so on. We can go in and we can directly add punch items and track accountability for those items right here. And I just click the add punch and I can go in and say, okay, you know what? We got something going on in here in the mortgage lending room. Maybe there's a problem with that door. I'm going to click on that. And you see that as soon as I place the punch symbol on the plan, it immediately wants to know, all right, all the information about this punch item, right? So first thing, where is it, right? So it's in, or we'll call it in our mortgage lending group, all right? What's the description, right? Door handle is missing at that door. There was no door handle installed, okay? Priority on that, right? Is it hot, high, low? It's low. It opens and closes without it, all right? But I do need to get it done by a set date, so let's get that by, February 3rd. And now I can go in and I can assign this. And again, this comes back to building out your team, right? With your contractors and tradespeople and so on. I can assign this to specific people. I can assign it to entire groups. So you say I can make all the ZenTek employees responsible for that. I've even got a built-in list of different disciplines, right? And these are kind of standardized, right? But obviously this is going to go into the doors group, so it's part of the doors discipline. But I can put others. Maybe it's doors and accessories, right? Or hardware or whatever else. I can do that. Right? And then I can go in here and I can upload photos. So if I'm taking photos of the door to show it, I can now just click, hey, upload a photo, and I can pick that image to import as part of this punch item, right? And then I can just go ahead and I save that punch list, okay? And you see it's created for me, right? It's got a little preview of it here, right? It's gonna send out notifications to all the people who are responsible or are gonna get emails, right? And warnings that this is going. And then you can go in here and you can actually add comments. Right? So this is where you can kind of start to do that whole round trip communication, right? When I assign this to myself for this demo, but I can go in and say, this was done, knob was taken by GC for another building. You'll replace it. Don't know why they would do that, but sure, that's my note, right? But you see that I can go in now and I can just post that comment. All right, and now the GC can reply back and the architect can reply back, and everybody involved here is being notified and updated about what's going on with every single punch item, okay? Right, and I can even at this point, I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna kind of come out of the drawings and I'm gonna go, you see there is a punch over here on the side, there is actually a punch list, right? Where I can go in and you see it gives me a list of all of these items, okay? That I can go in and track and see exactly what's going on with these. Right? And adjust items and make changes. And eventually what I can do here is I can go in, I can change its status. When it's been done, I can add a comment saying, hey, right, the GC is going to come back. Let's put GC in there. It would normally have his name. And I'll just say it's, done, right? He replaced it. Yep, I did. I replaced it. It's done, right? And then it can just go in and say, right, is it ready for review? Is it out of scope? Okay, or is it just closed? He's the GC. He's just going to close it. Save it. All right, now you see I've got a list of punch lists or punch keys rather that are all done, but they still maintain. If I go back into my drawings, right, and I go back to that, you see that the punch key is still there. It's still maintained on that door. It just kind of dropped down to more of a gray version. I'm gonna kind of zoom in here a little bit if you can kind of see it right there, right? And I can always still click on it and just double click on it to see that was the item. See how it's all grayed out, show me that it's done. It keeps the comments. I've got the tracking history for everything all done in here. right? Which is really nice, okay? So that's how we handle punch items in Cloud. We can also handle RFIs. Now, RFIs we don't create on a drawing level. RFIs we tend to create a little bit differently, right? And that I can go in here and I'm just going to create a new RFI and I'm just going to put in some general info here and say, hey, I've got an RFI on, window size, okay? Question, right? No size for second floor window listed in the schedule. Fine, right? Who am I going to assign to? Again, all different members of my team, right? Do I need to send it to a whole list of people, right? What date does this due? When do I need that RFI back by, right? What is the impact of this? Is it causing me problems with cost, schedule, or both? Okay, it's going to freeze both, right? I can attach files. So if I've got other files, cut sheets, spec sheets, other things that I have to, notes, emails, photos, I can attach and upload other files to the RFI. Okay, and you see it gives, the project is pulled from the overall project number, but I can change that if I need to, right? And then I can just go ahead, I can either save this for kind of internal setup. So if I'm halfway through and I want to keep working on this, or I can just go ahead and say, hey, send that out to everybody. Now that RFI has been sent out to everybody on the team, everybody who I listed, and any one of those people can come in here and they can just click on it. And now you see I can go in, I can forward this to other members for discussions. I can download it to an external file, right? So we can talk about it, go back and forth on it. And when it's ready, when it's done, all right, if the architect or the engineer, whoever is responsible for this RFI, they can go in and create an official response. All right, here's my response, right? It's a 4x4 window per spec, 500-123. Good enough, okay? And there you go. And they can attach the file, the spec section, a note, whatever they want, and then just go ahead and say send. And you see that once I've set the official response, that is now a closed RFI, right? But what's great is that I've always got the list of the RFI here. And what's even better is that now I can go back to my drawings, right? And I'm going to open up the file. And you see now over here, I can actually now go back, I can insert that RFI and I can pick it. There it is, the one with the window size closed. I've got an answer, but I want to show people what the answer is on the documents. And that was pertaining to this window up here. And you see I can just tag it, right? And it links directly to it. So there's all the history, but you see up in here that it's actually showing me, right? I'll just kind of pan up there, RFI number 4. It's right there, it's tagged, it's on the documents, and I can know. And whenever anybody goes, whoa, what was RFI number 4? 8 months from now, they can just go ahead and double click on that. It opens up the RFI, the discussion, the history, and what the final answer was on it. All tracked and set rather than you guys trying to handle this with emails and everything else on your own, okay? And the last thing I wanted to show you guys is we can kind of do the same thing here with submittals, right? I can go in here and I can add, if you're submitting, different types of submittals, I can upload submittals, which I'm going to do in a minute. I'm going to upload a submittal log because it's a little bit easier and quicker, right? But to show you, you're just going in, filling out your spec number, spec section, right? What's the category that you're submitting for, right? Who's responsible? When is it due, right? How much lead time? When is it required on site? And you can even go out and you can build your own Excel template. And it gives you the format and everything in here. You can just download up here where it says export, right? And I'm just going to upload a submittal log here, right? Which is not here. Where is my, sorry, I'm in the wrong folder here. I don't know why I'm in that folder, but I am. Here we go. There's my submittal log, right? I'm just uploading the submittal log, and you see I've got 2 lines that were already filled out in there. Right? And those are just a very basic Excel spreadsheet. I'm just going to pop it open so you guys can see it. It's very, very easy to fill this out. Just basically filling it in, which is what a lot of us have. So you can take the ones you already have, right? And you see it's just giving you all of those basic fields, right? The submittal number, spec section, description. Just build a basic log, right? And then here you go. You've got all your submittals now in here. So I can go into this, 2102, click on this, right? And you see it's got all the information set and built, but now I can go ahead and I can assign this, right? To who, right? What's the status on this? Submittal has been requested, right? Am I submitting it for design review? Who am I submitting it to? When's it due? I can attach additional files if I need to, right? So I'm handling the entire submittal process right here. And then I can send it. And then on each of these, right, people can go in and they can select those and they can respond to it. I need to respond back to this, okay? I'm going to respond in, right, and say, hey, it's got to be revised and resubmitted, okay? So I can go ahead and submit that and tell them you got to resubmit with revisions, and I can mark it up. Again, open it up and go into the drawings and mark it up and tell them what changes need to be made. That's the idea, that we're in this area, right, where we're able to go in and handle all of those most common communication control issues inside of Bluebeam Cloud. All of our punch items are tracked forever. Our RFIs are tracked forever. Submittals are all handled and tracked forever in one area that everybody can go to at any point throughout the lifespan of the entire project and get the answers that they're looking for. Okay, so that's kind of, I just got a little freak out on my screen there. I don't know what happened. Hopefully you guys can still see. All right. And that's kind of everything that I wanted to show you in terms of Bluebeam Cloud, and at least its functionality for today. So with that, I'm going to jump back here to our presentation screen. All right, and I'm going to take a minute. So I got a couple of questions that came in. First question, I got a question from Steven. Do the users have the ability to upload photos of completed tasks within the punch items? Yes, like I was showing you, on almost all of those, Steven, you have the ability to load up the photos, right, as part of the setup. Let me just jump back to that real quick. So we go back to the RFIs, right? You see that in here, right? You can go in and once they're loaded and you have the finished item, right, under the yeah, see the attachments here. There are no files attached, but I can go back in and edit this. Right? When I forward this, I can actually readjust and add in the additional attachments. So yeah, you can. There's a little bit of a process to it, but you definitely can. Another question from Frank. Do people get emails when changes are made on a job? Yes. Yeah, everybody who is in that, either you've assigned something to or part of the distribution list, Frank, they get email notifications every time an update or a response or a reply or a change in state happens. So it keeps the communication going constantly. I got a question from Sarah. Can I use this with my current studio file structures? Yes. Actually, one of the things I didn't talk about because it's more detailed, you have the ability when you're kind of setting it up, I'll just jump back here real quick, underneath the dashboard here, all right, is that we can go under settings. You see that we can pull integrations, right, and we can integrate these so that if files are being stored out in SharePoint or OneDrive or Google Drive or Bluebeam Studio, you can actually import your files from any of those locations or work with them from there. So yes, absolutely. I got a question from Louis. Is there packages for multi-users? No, V21 at the and I'm not a sales guy, so I think this is the case. But if you have a question, shoot an email to sales@ZenTekConsultants.net on this, Louis. I don't think they're doing network licensing. I think it has to be kind of individual licenses now. You need to purchase the annual subscription for each seat. This way everybody can log in as they need to from anywhere. Okay. Question from Scott McDowell. Can we measure in the drawing tool? On a very limited basis. One thing that I am hoping they're going to be upgrading and adding here into the future releases of Cloud. Right now, estimating and measurement tools are not there. They're primarily just markup tools at the moment. So even if you try and upload your own tools, it's a little bit limited in that respect, Scott. So not quite what you're looking for at the moment. Question from Nicholas. Do all users need to have a subscription to Bluebeam? So engineers and contractors both have to have licenses? No, actually, it's a great question. Essentially, when you invite people into your Bluebeam Cloud projects, just like you would do in Bluebeam Studio, they don't need a license. They will need to have, actually, no, even with Cloud, you don't even have to have Bluebeam installed because you're going to a web page. So no, they're essentially using your license when you're inviting them in. They'll have to create an account, but they'll be able to just log in on your jobs essentially using your license. I don't think there's a limit on how many there. And I got Arash asked that same question. Yep. Question from Jim. Do all team members, ARC, subs, vendors, etc., need to have Bluebeam accounts? Accounts, yes, right, which is what I was saying. They'll have to just sign up for a Bluebeam account, which all they have to do is put in their email and a password. But licenses, no. Another question from Louis. Do you have Bluebeam Review 6 X64 standard for purchase or demo? The problem you're going to run into here, Louis, is I'm going to recommend, like I said, the standard version is for V20 and earlier only. They're discontinuing it. There are almost no upgrade paths. If you guys want to upgrade to V21, you have 1 week from this point, right? It is now the 24th of January. Until the end of this month, they are offering an upgrade path. Reach out to our sales folks and they can help you with that. Okay. All right. And I think that catches all of the questions that I have for today. All right. So again, like I said, do you guys have any questions, concerns? I got the training at ZenTek Consultants up. That should say sales at zentekconsultants.net. I didn't change my slide, so I apologize for that. But shoot the training too. I'll get it to the sales guy. So anything we can do to help you guys out, we do quite a lot of work in training and helping people with all aspects of Bluebeam, Bluebeam tools, cloud, and so on. All right, so hope you guys got some good info today. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you all next time. Have a great day, everybody.